Is general manager Joe Ortiz about to make a big move at the NFL draft? I'm Will Ortner. This is Chargers Now. And right now, NFL.com certainly thinks that there is a win win trade possibility for the Chargers and the New York Jets. But it will not be the trade that we discussed on our Monday video. You haven't seen that one? Go and check that out right now on the channel. If you want the Chargers to go in and make a big trade, make sure that you smash that thumbs up button. Last week, our top thumbed up video, aka our most liked video, only had 200 likes. We can get more than that on today's video right now. Hit that thumbs up button, especially if you love the Chargers. Eric Edholm of NFL.com, he came up with an interesting trade idea for a multitude of different teams on what he believed would essentially be a win-win trade for everyone. And I'd be remiss if we didn't break down the Chargers trade that Edholm came up with. And I frankly think that it actually isn't a bad move for the Los Angeles Chargers. Edholm's trade idea was the New York Jets receive an extra first-round pick, and then essentially it becomes a pick swap the rest of the way. So the Chargers would end up giving up number 22 overall in the 2026 NFL Draft. But then the Chargers would then end up having 3 second-round picks. They'd have a 4th-round pick, which would be a pick swap there. And they'd also have a 2nd-round pick in the 2027 draft. While the Jets essentially would take the 2nd round. They would end up taking the 4th round and then a 3rd-round pick in the 2027 class. So as I go through that, I realize that the Chargers would have 2 second-round picks. My apologies on the confusion there. But when I look at this trade, it essentially is a trade up for the Jets in the 2026 draft, a trade up for the Chargers in the 2027 draft, and then a bunch of pick swaps, which I find very interesting because I think that when you look at that trade on the surface, it's not really all that sexy, but it's definitely something that I could see general manager Joe Ortiz doing if it's going to help the Chargers in the long run. Let me know down below in the comment section if you think the Chargers should make a draft day trade. Agree or disagree with me saying that they should. I think that the Chargers are going to want more draft capital. Right now, only having 5 draft picks, it's frankly not enough. So the Chargers are going to need to add in some more beef to this roster, plenty of holes to fill. I think that by going and getting more capital in the draft would be huge for them. Let me know what your opinion is, because we always love hearing what your opinion is. Unless it's being critical of me, then that just makes me sad. Why would the Jets potentially do this? Well, let's go through a couple of reasons. The Jets want Ty Simpson. Let's make no bones about it. The New York Jets do not plan to have Geno Smith be their long-term answer at quarterback, and I don't know that the Jets are willing to wait until the 2027 NFL Draft to potentially go and get Arch Manning or Dante Moore, Sam Levitt, or any of the other big-name QBs in college football right now. Here's what Eric Edholm had to say on what the drafts want in this potential draft, what the Jets want in this potential draft. If the Jets want to draft Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson and address other weighty issues, they might have to trade back into round 1 for a 3rd first-rounder. They and the Cardinals figured to be the main bidders for Simpson, but New York can blow any team out of the water from a draft position standpoint. Right now, the Jets own picks 2 and 16, and they're loaded for next year too, possessing 3 first-rounders in 2027. When we look at Ty Simpson's stats last year in college football, I get why there's a lot of NFL teams that are very interested in what Ty Simpson could potentially bring to their squad. I think he's a very capable quarterback who has done a lot of good things at the University of Alabama. I think when you look at his struggles at the back half of the year, you do have to remember that he was a little beat up, so it's not the best foot forward for Simpson. And I think it's also important to note that a team like the Jets has a ton of holes. And when teams have a ton of holes, including a hole at quarterback, it feels like those teams can get a bit desperate. It feels like those teams can go in and maybe make a move that they wouldn't normally make. How often have we gone to the grocery store as people, been hungry, and then all of a sudden you walk out with some Little Debbies, right? You walk out with some cosmic brownies that you didn't necessarily want. Producer JD's smiling right now. I know he's done it. I did it yesterday. I went to the store, and now I got stupid fudgesicles. It's the same thing in the NFL draft. When you need a quarterback, you get a little bit desperate. You're walking through the aisles, and bam, there it is. There's a quarterback, and you go in and jump in and grab it. So potentially, the New York Jets, they might be a little bit too excited to make a move, and that might lead to them making a move. The Jets also have plenty of tradable assets right now. When I look at this New York Jets team and everything that they could want, they could need, it's very clear that they're going through a rebuild. It's very clear that they're not afraid to make moves because they've been trading players at the trade deadline, in the offseason. They've been going after as many picks as possible. And so it would not shock me if we saw the New York Jets go out and make some moves where they move on from some picks. Because right now, when you look at what the Jets have in 2026 draft capital, it's pretty damn impressive. You got 2 picks in the first round, 2 picks in the second round, 2 picks in the fourth, 2 in the seventh, and a pick in the fifth. So it's clear that there is some movable pieces there for the New York Jets. It wouldn't be that hard, and it would not hinder them greatly for them to move on from any of those types of picks. When we look at the legit picks, and when I say legit, I mean the big name picks, not just in this year's draft, but next year's draft, they have 3 first rounders in 2027 and a second rounder in 2027 as well. So there's a ton of draft capital here for the Jets that they could move or maneuver around where they are still able to go and get a lot of the players that they need, a lot of the top-end talent that they need, while not hindering themselves in the long run. A trade like this allows the Jets to move up ever so slightly, but it doesn't really affect them in the long term if you think about it. They still have all of the same amount of picks, essentially. They just don't have them as high up. Well, if you still have the amount of picks that you could potentially want, you can do the third thing that the Jets would want to do here, and that's fill all of the holes that they have on this offense and on the defense for this team. When I look at the New York Jets, there are issues aplenty. It's not just a quarterback issue. It's not just a running back issue. In fact, running back might be the only thing that they are locked in at. They just have so many different positions that they need to fill. And they're going to want to do this with as much top-end talent as they can. So the more first-round picks that the Jets can acquire, the more, and I guess the higher of likelihood that they would have for this Jets team to accomplish their rebuild faster. It feels like they are going to throw as many picks at the problem as they possibly can, get a lot of young, cheap talent, and hope that they can turn them into top-end players. So to me, it makes sense for the Jets. You're able to get the QB that you potentially want, or if you already draft a QB, you can fill another position that you need. You end up still having 6 first-round picks in the last 2 drafts, in 2026 and in 2027. By that move, they would have 3 in both. And you would still have an opportunity to hold on to the depth of your picks to fill in the rest of your roster. So to me, it makes a lot of sense why the Jets would do this. Subscribe to the channel right now. I'm going to give you a half of a second. There it is. You already hit the sub button. Thank you. And now let's get into why the Chargers could potentially do this. You're not going to really miss out on any players. When we look at the potential takes for the Chargers, I think if Vega Ione is already off the board, who to me, that's the number one, that's your home run, what's the difference between a player at 22 and a player at 33? Essentially, a couple of the guys could go off the board, but you only have so much top-end talent. And when you're looking at the offensive line position, if Vega Ione is already gone, I don't know that there's another slam dunk guy that you would get at 22 that you definitely could not get at 33. I also think if you're looking at some of the other positions that the Chargers could potentially go after, you're not going to really lose out on those guys at pick number 33. Eric Edholm, he's the one who kind of agreed with me on this and kind of convinced me more so to really dive into this take. And here's what he had to say and why I got convinced. The Chargers could find similar players at 33 as they would at 22. There's additional value in having a chance to restack the board, let trade offers roll in, and collect an extra night's sleep before round 2 begins. It's important to note that pick 33, that's a pretty dang good pick in this draft. Pick 34 is a pretty dang good pick in this draft. And right now, you'd essentially still be, you can convince yourself that you are drafting high in the second round, and it's essentially the same as the first. You're also improving your draft capital. What do I mean by this? Right now, when you look at the Chargers picks, you only have 5 of them. So there is definitely some wiggle room for this Chargers team. You're not as bad as some teams where you barely have any picks, but you have plenty. You'd also be moving up your picks in the draft because essentially the Chargers and Jets would be swapping most of those day 2 and early day 3 picks. That would allow you the opportunity to fill a lot of the needs that you already have on this Chargers team with some better end talent, or a belief that they would be better end talent. You still need to fill in the interior of the offensive line. You still need to find another edge rusher because, one, you need one. Odafe Oweh, you didn't really replace him. And Khalil Mack, you probably got one more year left of him. It'd be nice to help a little bit on the interior of the defensive line. And a safety. And if both Dylan Thieneman and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and Vega Ione are all gone, which is very possible at pick 22, well, why not move back? You're going to find some good end talent and continue to strengthen this team in this roster. I think that the more opportunities that the Chargers have to get young, cheap end talent in this draft and bring them onto this roster, I think it's only going to help this team. The last thing that we need to talk about is a clear game plan, not just by general manager Joe Ortiz, but by a lot of other general managers in the National Football League. And that is the 2027 NFL Draft. There is a belief that the draft capital there is much better and greater than what the draft capital is right now in the 2026 class. I agree with them. I think that the 2027 class is going to be much better from just strictly a quarterback perspective. Now, do the Chargers need a quarterback? No. But other teams will. And that allows the Chargers to make more room to maneuver. Also, I don't think the Jets are going to be that good in 2027. There's a pretty decent chance that their second-round pick that the Chargers would be acquiring is still one of the higher and better second-round picks. So you're improving your draft capital in the year of 2027, while at the same time slightly improving your draft capital as well in the year of 2026. Would you make this Edholm trade? Yes or no? Let me know down below in the comment section. Sound off, because we definitely want to hear your opinion. I'm always going through there, double-checking, seeing what you guys post. I think you guys do a great job. Excited to see what you come up with. I think that this is a trade that would make a lot of sense for both teams. And I do actually think that this could be a win-win-win. Because, well, that third win, shout out to Michael Scott. We got to do a video here on Chargers Now. Hit that thumbs up button if you love the draft content that we've got going on. We are in the month of the NFL Draft. It is April. It's coming. It's right around the corner. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out on any of the content that we've got for you. Thank you guys so much for viewing the video. Make sure that you bolt up.